Season of Discovery Phase 4 is here. Let's have a look how we can thwart Ragnaros and all his fiery foes with our Frost Mage. Looking at the stat priority, first and foremost, we need to get our hit rating to 16%. This means that for bosses 3 levels above us, like in Molten Core, we will guarantee our hits, because remember, a missed hit doesn't do any DPS. Now, there are quite a few ways that we can get most of this hit rating done before we even start looking at gear, and I will be talking about those later in the video. Then we need spell and frost damage, of course, to increase the potency of our spells. One thing I do want to explain, however, is how the benefit of spell power actually works on our different spells. If you imagine that we got an extra 100 spell power on our gear, and that would add 100 damage to an instant cast spell versus a spell that takes a 10-second cast. Obviously, the more spell damage we get would exponentially increase how powerful the instant spell would be. To offset this privilege that would be introduced, what Blizzard do is they reduce the benefit on shorter casting spells. So instant and AoE spells get about 40% of the benefit, whereas a short cast spell may get 80% and a long cast spell gets 100% of this benefit. I'd just like to explain how that works so you can fully understand how these stats are actually impacting your character. After that, we want Spell Critical Strike to, of course, double our damage, then Intellect, and then Spirit and MP5 for a bit of extra mana. Intellect itself does give some more of our mana pool. I think it's 14 mana per 1 intellect, and it also slightly increases our crit as well. So this is quite a useful stat, but not as good as spell crit on its own. And of course, Spirit and MP5 purely just increase our mana regeneration. Looking at the talents we're taking, this is a kind of all-rounder build that I'm giving you here for both AoE and single target. Of course, most of it is going into the Frost Tree. Now, we won't be going through it in a granular detail like previous phases. However, if you are still leveling and do need help at level 25, 40 or 50, check out my channel because I've got playlists for every single level bracket. Elemental Precision here at the top is one of the things that we are taking to help with our spell hit, increasing, or should I say reducing, the chance that we miss by 6%, taking that spell hit down from 16 to 10%. Ice Shards increases the damage bonus of critical strikes by 100%, and Shatter down here increases the crit chance against frozen targets by 50%, which we will obviously be doing in Frost. Cold Snap is a 10-minute cooldown that reduces the cooldown to nothing on all of our Frost spells. Piercing Ice increases the damage of our Frost spells, while Arctic Reach increases the reach of them. And lastly, we have another cooldown we're taking in Frost, which is Ice Block. You become encased in ice, protecting you from all physical damage, but it is on a 5-minute cooldown. The last one we have here is Improved Blizzard. Adds a chill effect to your Blizzard spell. The effect lowers the target's movement speed by 65% and lasts 1.5 seconds. What you could do if you want to go more single target is take this out, or if you don't need the slow, and put it down here into Winter's Chill. Gives your frost damage spells a 60% chance to apply the Winter's Chill effect, increasing the chance a frost spell will critically hit against that target. Lastly, we're putting some more points into Arcane and Fire. Impact, giving your fire spells a 10% chance to stun the target. We don't care about that, but we do want to get deeper into the talent tree, so we could take Ignite. Your critical strikes from fire spells cause your target to burn for an additional 40% of spells damage. Now, if you're thinking, hang on a minute, we're Frost, well, some of the spells we will be using will actually be doing frost and fire damage, meaning this will impact some of the spells we are using. Lastly, in Arcane Focus, on the Arcane side, we're reducing the chance that they can resist Arcane spells. Again, there will be a spell we're using from this. Arcane Subtlety, reducing resistance and reducing threat, taking us down into Arcane Concentration and Arcane Resilience, increasing our armor by our intellect, improving survivability, not sustainability, and Arcane Concentration here, giving us a 10% chance of entering a clear casting state, reducing the mana of our next spell by 100%. Now, moving on to the runes we're using. We are using a few spells here that are more AoE focused, which are Living Bomb and Living Flame. Living Bomb here, you can put this on targets and they explode, doing a big ton amount of damage, and you want to put this on as many targets as possible in an AoE situation. It is also pretty powerful still on single target, however, and that should be noted. Over here, Living Flame is the one that's going to do a fiery trail to your target, again doing AoE damage. If you're not needing to do that, you can take Icy Veins instead for a fantastic cooldown on your spellcasting haste. On the headpiece, I like to go for Deep Freeze, stunning the target for 5 seconds on frozen targets and dealing damage. On the chest rune, we're going for Fingers of Frost, giving your chill effects a 15% chance to grant you the Fingers of Frost effect, which treats your next 2 spells as if the target were frozen. And remember, we do have a much bigger increase on crit chance, 50%, on frozen targets. Balefire Bolt is a really interesting one. This does chimeric damage. If you think of a chimera, it's three-headed. What does that mean? It's doing arcane, frost, and fire damage. So it is actually impacting all of the different things we're putting on from our 3 different trees. Now, this is going to reduce your spirit by 10% each time you use it, and it will kill you at 10 stacks, meaning you can only use it 9 times before you just swap out to a different spell. One thing to note here is that you can use it to 8 times so that you don't risk the 9th one going over to 10th if you're, not concentrating. But it will do more and more damage against them each time, of course, and it's a fantastic spell we're going to be using in our rotation. We also have Frostfire Bolt here, launching a bolt of Frost Fire, so again, it's actually impacting from both our Frost and Fire talents, slowing their movement speed and doing a big old amount of damage. Brain Freeze is another fantastic rune we can use, where your frost damage spells with chilling effects have a 20% chance to cause your next Fireball, Spell Firebolt, or Balefire Bolt, that's the chimeric one, or Frostfire, to be instant cast and use no mana at all. You could also go for Spell Power, increasing the critical strike damage bonus of all spells by 50%. There is a choice to make on that one. Frozen Orb is going to be on the cloak, launching an orb of swirling ice, rapidly moving towards the target, doing damage, and applying a chill effect to enemies that it hits. The first time it also hits an enemy, it's going to guarantee that you do get a charge of Fingers of Frost, making it even better. Then, on our rings, we're going to be going with Arcane and Frost Specialization, reducing the chance to miss with our hits by 6%. Remember, we got another 4% on our precision spell. Sorry, 6%, meaning that we only need 4% on our hit rating from other sources. So it's a 16% total, and this is massively reducing it down. So 6% and 6% equals 12%, of course. We only need another 4% from gear and other sources to actually get hit capped at 16%. So how are we going to bring this all together and actually do our rotation? Well, this is the general rotation at the top here for single target and at the bottom for multi-target that I recommend. Let's get Living Bomb up to start. And oh, by the way, don't forget to obviously put on your Arcane Intellect, etc., of course. Then we're going to launch out that Frozen Orb, swirling towards our targets on cooldown. After that, we can use Deep Freeze on cooldown if we've got the Fingers of Frost procs, and then activate Icy Veins if you are taking it, and any other cooldowns that we do have to enhance our damage and spellcasting haste. After that, we want to use our Balefire Bolt in those cooldown windows, or out of them if they're on cooldown, of course, up to 8/9 stacks if you feel comfortable doing that, but not for 10 stacks, of course. After that, your Frostfire Bolt will be your filler ability. Looking at AoE, again, we're going to use our Frost Orb, swirling, because it will do damage on an AoE basis. We can use our Living Flame and take that rune in AoE, and then cast and reapply Living Bomb to as many targets as possible. Another thing to say about Living Bomb, obviously it's a #1 priority on our single target rotation. Do make sure you reapply it as soon as it explodes on the target. Don't just keep going down this rotation until you reach the end. Make sure you are going back up to the top if things like Living Bomb or Frozen Orb are coming off cooldown. And that is how you're going to play Frost Mage in this phase. If you do need any extra help, one-on-one, etc., you can DM me directly on Patreon and I can guide you with whatever you may need. And you can also get UI imports and extra resources like Excel spreadsheets and guides and macros, etc. on my Patreon as well. And it will also open up a VIP channel on the Discord. So that is how you can get a load of extra help if you do need it from me. Or you could join the Discord and just ask the community, where we have really friendly, beginner-friendly as well, people in there. Now, if you are looking for other classes, maybe Arcane or Fire Mage, check out this playlist here because I have done all of them for this phase. Don't forget to subscribe and give the video a thumbs up.